Welcome back, my pretties, to It Has Been 7 Minutes, the YouTube show where we discuss the show Hazbinhotel chronologically and in all of the details that ever detailed. Today, be prepared to be slapped by many dicks and eggs, also many eggs, because this is part 7! Which means that today we begin with episode 3, titled Scrambled Eggs. Instead of just translating the dish into their native language, like the other localizations of the show did, Germans wanted to be extra and named this episode Trust is Good, Eggs Are Better. A play on the saying, Trust is good, control is better. Which, considering the contents of the episode, kinda makes sense. Fun fact! Scrambled Eggs was the working title for a little song by a British rock band from the 60s called The Beatles. Maybe you've heard of them. This song would eventually be called Yesterday. Paul McCartney had the melody for Yesterday in his head when he woke up one morning. And during the next weeks, while he was asking around if maybe it was an already existing song that might have resurfaced from his subconscious, he invented placeholder lyrics so that it would be easier for him to remember his melody. Those lyrics were Scrambled eggs, oh my baby, how I love your legs. Apropos delicious eggs. From October until now, there was a pop-up maid cafe in Tokyo and Osaka that was entirely Hazbin themed. 2 months before I am in Japan myself. It's okay. I promise I don't take this personally. Look how cute they all are in their butler and maid attires. If you ever wondered how Vel's and Velvet's love potion tasted, you were able to find out here, at your own risk. I'd rather drink an eggbois, I think. Also, while every drink has a short description of what the primary flavor for it is, for Adam's drink it just says white. Okay, that doesn't help me. What does white taste like? Apparently like Adam. Adam tastes white, you heard it here first. The cafe didn't only have drinks, but served food too. It ranges from really pretty, like the afternoon tea arrangement and the loser baby themed fruit jelly, to a little cursed like the Charlie toast. Also, I don't know if I would try a mystery curry that is alastor themed, just to be safe. Anyway, we should maybe start the actual episode at some point, right? Okay, so today we begin with a sleeping Kiki on a sofa and end with a lovely stroll with some fine fellas with their delicious eggs. Since Kiki is a scaredy cat, she leaves the picture when she hears hammering sounds nearby. Those sounds stem from Charlie hanging a banner in front of the entrance, which reads, Happy first week, Sir Penches! It is embellished with hearts and a snake. The blue color which was used to write the lettering still stands in the entrance, and someone was sloppy with it and spilled it onto the carpet. Nifty will be so happy to clean it up. Charlie is happy too, because, as she reminds us, Sir Penches is now staying at the hotel. But Vaggie reminds us that he tried to kill them not long ago. This is also the first time we see those 2 dragon pets, who are helpful little critters and assist Charlie with the banner. We will not get to know their names until episode 5, but the names are Razzle and Dazzle. The earliest sources for the term razzle-dazzle come from the late 19th century. It was used to describe a display of ostentation, noise and/or glitz and glamour, often with the added intention to confuse or distract someone. That was also the intended goal of the so-called dazzle camouflage, which was colloquially also just called razzle-dazzle. In 1917, during the height of World War I, the British Navy faced the problem of their ships being increasingly targeted by German U-boats. So zoologist John Graham Kerr and painter Norman Wilkinson tried something new. If you can't hide a ship, and I mean it's a big-ass ship, then how about making it as loud as possible to confuse the enemy? Over 4,000 ships were then painted with zebra stripes, taking influences by painters like Picasso and his colleagues of the Cubist movement. If you've ever been into painting or drawing, you probably know that patterns like stripes and checkers are really good at creating a 3D effect, and this phenomenon was used to transform ships into optical illusions, so that German U-boats would have a harder time estimating distance and direction of the ship. It is not conclusive if that scheme ultimately paid off, because there are many factors which determine if a ship is hit or not, and it went out of fashion after the Second World War, but is still sometimes used even today. Sir Pentious enters the picture with a huge cannon and his eggbois. He greets Vaggie with, "Hello, purple female." What? I can't even remotely tell which part of Vaggie is supposed to be purple. Neither her skin, nor her hair, or her clothes come close to being purple. Can you even see colors? Well, yes, snakes can see colors, but depending on the species, not necessarily all of them. A few of them can also see temperature. Maybe that's what Sir Pentious sees when he looks at Vaggie. The rise in temperature as she gets angry about him carrying weapons around. Because this is not how you redeem yourself. Meanwhile, Kiki is chased by the eggbois as if they were the zombies in 28 Days Later. If we would like to find out which kind of artillery Sir Pentious' war machine is, we would have to determine that by looking at the trajectory. A cannon's barrel is adjusted relatively horizontal. It's called a flat fire gun because the trajectory is a flat parabola. Innovations during the 19th century added the howitzer and the mortar to the artillery's arsenal. The howitzer can be tilted down and up and was therefore able to be fired from hiding spots. A mortar is a high-angle gun and usually way shorter and smaller than what Pentious presents us here. There are even types of mortars that you can carry on your shoulders. Since Sir Pentious expresses his intent to shoot at the other residents specifically, this therefore has to be a cannon, because cannons are the type of artillery with which you can fire at specific targets. But why does he even want to shoot the others? Charlie asks, and the answer is because Sir Pentious doesn't trust them. Other people are wolves to each other and all that jazz that I explained in the last video. He has to be prepared because he can't take the risk of trusting someone. And he is prepared because he has ordered more weapons and a cactus from an overlord called Camilla Carmine. Is Camilla the only one in hell with a surname? Except the Morning Stars? We will reserve the discussion about her name for when she appears though, and also her daughters, who right now just deliver the order and say bye-bye for now. And Pentious has to say bye-bye to the weapons and a crane? Already, because those are Vaggie's terms if he wants to stay here, including getting rid of his eggbois, who play with a laser sword until it goes off. Is the Star Wars world part of this universe? Did Palpatine show up in hell at some point? For a short while until somehow he returned? Anyway, Patches reluctantly says goodbye to his minions and is helplessly comforted by Charlie. Scene change! We see a piece of raw meat being picked up by a fork as if it was a bite of delicious spaghetti. It's Alastor munching on a dead deer. This is a reference to the fact that Alastor is a cannibal, for he is eating a deer while himself being a demon with deer features. I hope he doesn't have the digestive system of a deer, or that of a human for that matter, because since the times when our ancestors learned how to cook, our bodies are not built to digest raw meat anymore. Judging by the wounds the deer is showing, it looks like it has been slain by claws. Right now, Alastor has dainty, human-like hands, and in Season 1 we never see him clearly fighting anyone using claws, but in Season 2 he does use his hands transformed into claws to confront Vox, so it is very likely he killed this deer himself. Alastor enjoys his meal sitting on some pretty garden furniture in the middle of a nature scenery. It looks like it's a swamp, judging by the partially wet surface and the plants typically found in swamps, like those grasses from the family of Typha. Put more concretely, it's probably supposed to emulate a bayou area, which is the name for the swamps, marshes and waterways in Louisiana. Because, as we have been told in Season 2, New Orleans is where Alastor lived and died. Speaking of plants and Louisiana, hoodoo, not to be confused with voodoo, so hoodoo, which like voodoo, is going strong especially in the area around New Orleans, is based around the concept of so-called root magic. Root magic is, as you might have guessed, focusing on the roots of plants. The underlying pantheistic idea is that every tree has a soul. They can communicate with each other, and people who are practicing hoodoo can communicate through rituals with them. Interestingly, that's not too far off from the reality. Some plants have root networks that send information from plant to plant. They can, for example, send nutrients over a long distance to plants which need them. Not only between the same kind of plant, roots and even the mycelium of fungi, which inhabit the same ecosystem, can send information and nutrition between each plant of this ecosystem, even miles apart. The roots of cypresses especially are so deeply connected with each other that they form a dense carpet under the Earth's surface and become like one big living organism. The same cypresses that make up the most of the Louisiana Bayou. It is heavily implied that Alastor uses voodoo magic, but if so and which one he uses will be a subject to sort out for future Gwenny. Veggie barges in and we pan over to her, realizing that Alastor's room in the hotel is half a bayou and half a more conventionally 20s styled room. It's a bit dilapidated with a broken and moss-stained chandelier and crookedly hanging picture frames. There is a bookshelf displaying 2 radios, the skull of a crocodile and the skeleton of a small snake. The skeleton of a whole crocodile is mounted on the wall, as well as deer antlers over the fireplace. On the fireplace is also a human skull and bones. There are 2 red armchairs in front of the fireplace, and are those 2 because Alastor actually entertains guests sometimes, or just because he likes symmetry, as suggested by the symmetrically arranged picture frames and candelabras? If he does host guests from the hotel, I can't imagine it being anyone but nifty. Maybe that's why the seats are as narrow as they are, so that she can easily reach them. And then, while they are having those little get-togethers, they are drinking hot chocolate and talking about existential philosophy. I don't know, something like, "Nifty, my dear, what are your thoughts on Kant's categorical imperative?" "I want to stab you." "Oh, you are so insightful." Maggie is here, eggbois in tow, because she decided to outsource the eggbois problem to Alastor. He is excited at first and then a little less so when Maggie insists that he gets rid of them without making scrambled eggs. For a split second we see Alastor's face contort into a greenish grimace, showing a red X on his forehead. As we have learned in Season 2, this is the spot where he was shot by the bullet responsible for his demise. So now, to make up for not talking about Camilla Carmine's name in this video, let's instead talk about our little dear demon Alastor. Since Alastor was the first character Vivsy designed when she was in middle school, she doesn't remember how his name came to be, but she supposes it wasn't for any smart reason, and she probably just googled "list cool old names" or something like that. So let's look at what an alastor even is. The word alastor is Greek for avenger. In Greek mythology, an alastor describes an evil spirit or a demon who is basically revenge personified. His deal is to avenge a crime staining the lineage of a house, and by doing so replace it with another crime, which then needs further avenging. This way, he becomes a metaphor for family feuds and for children carrying the sins of the father. Another interesting tidbit is that while most sinners have taken on a different name for themselves for their presence in the afterlife, it was stated that Alastor was actually the name he also carried during his human life. He just kept it after his death. Next scene, a happy Charlie and a sour-looking Vaggie, so nothing out of the ordinary here, stand before Pensius, Angel, Husk, and Nifty. Penty is suspicious of the others. Angel and his angel look are mostly confused. Nifty is very happy to be here, and Husk is very unhappy to be here. The coffee table is once again gone somewhere. It's not moved to the wall this time, it just disappeared. It's fine. Charlie announces that they are going to do thrust exercises! And Vaggie was supposed to join in, but she was a little out of sync, even though they rehearsed this. I presume it was Charlie who used the paint left over from painting the banner for Sir Pensius to paint another one, advertising that they will be teaching them thrusting 101 now. And as she is known to do, she embellished her banner and the stage it is attached to with hearts and rainbows and a gold star and a doodle of heaven that never looked more like an atom. But also, apparently, Angel had the time and creativity to join in the fun. He scribbled LOL next to him, giving the middle finger and a penis. He also likes to inform Charlie that she sucks at drawing while he sucks at spelling. But admittedly, his self-portraits look pretty good. So it's safe to say that he has some authority on the subject of drawing and sucking. Husk questions the presence of a stage for all of this and makes clear that he's not going to put on a show for the others. Which is an interesting choice of words, given that, according to the wiki, Husk was a magician in Vegas during his human life and also performed the saxophone in lounge bars. Not necessarily at the same time, but that would be cool. And next I will pull a rabbit out of my saxophone. A sexy rabbit, because the sax is the sexiest instrument there is.
Also, talking about the score, every character has a little intro melody that's playing in certain situations, usually when this character is introduced into a scene or talking. And if I'm not mistaken, Husks is usually a saxophone playing.
That's my voice trying to sound sexy, to imitate the sexy saxophone. Sexy. Anyway, Angel actually would perform, and he'd do it in his profession. And his profession in this case is pole dance, because Angel has literally all the jobs that are even remotely adjacent to the erotic industry. He takes the liberty to rest his legs on Husk's lap and, oh, my husky doesn't love his legs. Vaggie gestures at Charlie to start her trust exercises, but instead, Charlie drops the bomb that she thought Vaggie should lead the exercises, because Charlie trusts everyone, so she herself doesn't really know how to fix trust issues. And Vaggie is shooketh a bit, because really, those two rehearsed a whole routine and painted a banner and built a stage, and Charlie never stopped to say, hey, by the way, I want you to lead the exercises. Then Vaggie would have had at least a little time to prepare and think about something better than what she comes up with, which are trust faults. According to therapist and YouTuber Georgia Dow, this is not the best idea to do with people who have trust issues, especially the part where you share something vulnerable with people. For the extroverted kind, like Charlie, this will more likely be a positive experience, but for people who are more avoidant in nature, like Husk, who expresses not even wanting to go up there, and Angel, who deflects by being aggressively sexual, this experience would do nothing but be unpleasant for them. Vaggie is marching in front of the group and delivering her idea in a commanding voice that, as we will learn later in the show, she is very familiar with from her time in the Angel's army. Which begs the question if she just emulated the tone because that is how she was spoken to, or if she herself has experience giving orders to people. Given the information that she was one of Adam's top girls, I don't think it's hard to imagine that she was somewhere down the line of the commanding ranks. Charlie is the first one to go up the stage and reveals that she really loves all of them. Which first of all isn't something vulnerable for her, and secondly isn't true. I believe that she believes it and that she genuinely wants the best for them, but at this point she doesn't really love any of them, except for Vaggie, who is the only one to get her. Next up is Angel, who reveals that he loves to suck at spelling and popsicles, which isn't something vulnerable in the slightest, but at least it's not untrue, since he ate a popsicle in the pilot, and it was also the only thing in the fridge, so he must love them. Of course, he only said that to get a rise out of Husk, who was afraid he would say dicks, but Angel didn't, so because he has been a good boy, Husk catches him. But also he loves sucking dicks too. In German, as the translation for dick, which was also used in the localization of this scene, you would say Schwanz, which is the exact same word you would use for an animal's tail. So naturally for this scene here in season 2, viewers of the German dub were easily led to believe that Alastor was missing a different body part than a tail. And while we are on the subject of the German localization, I can't confirm this in any way, shape or form, but from my own personal impression, I feel like the German localization sneaked in even more cussing and swear words than the English one. And so varied too. Sometimes characters throw an insult at me that I have never heard someone use in real life, ever. And it sounds hilarious. And then I'm like Baxter being like, ooh, I have to save this for my personal vocabulary. So to recap, in German, dicks are tails and also balls are eggs. It all comes down to eggs today. Serpentius is next, and we already know that he loves the attention and being dramatic. So this exercise would probably be right up his alley if he wasn't still bummed out about the loss of his minions. The others don't grant him a dive to his death though, a very short drive to his probably not really death, because Husk, Nifty, Charlie and Maggie catch him. But I can't spot Angel's hands anywhere. Vaggie promptly complains about Serpentius being slimy. There is even a slimy sound effect to emphasize it, and I'm speaking out against this snake slander, because snakes are not slimy. Many amphibia are slimy because their skin secretes a slimy liquid to keep them moist and well hydrated. But reptiles, including snakes, are dry to the touch, since they have scales covering them to retain moisture inside their body, and therefore don't need to be wet. If a snake has smooth scales, they can appear glossy and wet, hence the idea that they are slimy. Next up is Nifty, and Nifty is eager to tell every one of her friends that she likes to kill mother bugs in front of their children as a warning to others. And that's another reason why this kind of exercise might not be a good idea. You could learn something that you didn't want to know. So I already expressed the opinion that Nifty's design doesn't strike me as bug-like, even though that was initially the plan. However, if she is still supposed to be a bug demon, then her obsession with killing bugs raises some serious questions regarding her self-image. Also, why do I get the feeling that her relationship with her mom might not have been the bestest ever? Nifty has fun though, even though no one catches her, because she likes pain. As she jumps, we get a wide shot of the lobby and can see clearly now the curved staircase leading to the second floor and to a painting of the Morningstar family. Charlie gets the feeling that this might not be going as planned. Gee, if you only somehow had the opportunity to think this through a little bit ahead of time. If only. In the background, Pentious, Husk and Angel look shell-shocked while Nifty jumps off the stage repeatedly. And whenever characters are in the background and are drawn as little doodle versions of themselves, they look just so cute. Vaggie assures Charlie that she got this, because even though she was thrown into this, she doesn't want to disappoint her partner when she puts her trust in her. Meanwhile, Angel sneaks up on them and suggests that he could show them a place that would be excellent for some trust building. Vaggie asks what he has in mind, but Angel doesn't tell her apparently, because when we see this group again, they are already in the bondage club Angel will lead them to. But that is a problem for future Gwenny to deal with. For now, scene change. We change to a different part of town. The scenery is defined by smoking chimneys and tall buildings with glass fronts. It looks distinctly industrial, and judging by its relation to the Heavenly Embassy, when we look at our overview map, this section should be here. And I think I can slightly make out some chimneys here and there. We pan down to Alastor, who is bombarded with questions from the eggbois, like if it's his hair or his ears. They probably have those questions from Twitter. But Alastor isn't in the mood to answer those personal questions or requests to touch his staff thing. And would you not do this motion with your hand when talking about a guy's staff? We had enough dick jokes in this episode already. But let's talk about eggs for a bit. In many cultures, eggs are part of the creation myth, because eggs are the symbol of origins. In the Finnish national epic, the Kalevala, there was only the primordial ocean in the beginning, and the primordial mother floating through it, just vibing, having a bit of me time, when one day a diving duck joined her, landing on her knee and laying 7 eggs. Just then the mother was like, "Rah!" and the eggs broke, fell into the ocean and transformed into the world. For the ancient Egyptians, an Egyptian goose landed in the primordial ocean, no woman this time, and from the egg the goose laid hatched the sun god Re, who then created the world. In the Chinese creation mythos, the god being birthed in the egg was named Pangur. When he was ready to emerge, the egg made and separated into the sky and the earth. From Pangur's body, then everything else was created. His breath became the wind, his saliva the rain, yummy, his hair the plants, his eyes sun and moon, his blood the rivers, and his semen became pearls. Look again, your cum is now diamonds. Also, humans were made out of the insects that covered Pangur's body. Nifty as a goddess, confirmed, breaking news, scandal. Wow! We see a shadow approaching Alastor and materializing in his way. This guy, who looks like he moved here from Nightmare Before Christmas, is called Zestial. As he greets Alastor, if we watch it in English, we can hear a slight echo effect lying over his voice.
If our luck doth hold, I do revel in the screams.
In the other dubs, he has this exact filter more or less pronounced. In the German dub though, because again Germans have to be extra, Zestial sounds like this.
Wenn das Glück uns hold ist, werde ich mich an den Schrein ergötzen können.
How many filters do you want? Yes! Let's make him into Darth Vader alien Zestial, woo! Let's talk about Zestial's design for a bit. His color palette is black and lime green. He is one of the characters that uses his wings as a cloak, which must seriously reduce the time needed to get ready in the morning. Uncloaked, they look like bat wings, but with a design of a spider's web on them. A spider decoration is on his chest, and a skull and a feather embellish his tethered top hat. Zestial has 4 eyes, but only 2 of them seem to have irises and pupils. We see something like fear in Alastor's face, and he warns the clueless eggbois to not anger this demon if they value their shell. Alastor plays it cool, but other people around them are shitting their pants. Among them is a demon who we will get to know in Season 2 as an overlord called Prick. The demon, who likes to burn all the time, lights himself on fire and everyone else flees in fear. While this is going on, both men dance around each other with words. Zestial is trying to figure out what the deal is with Alastor and his newfound love for Charlie's hotel, and where he has been all this time that he disappeared. Alastor doesn't want to tell, but he would love to hear the theories. We'll discuss the theory another time. For now, Zestial changes his tune and tries to butter up Alastor with compliments, stating that he has been an enigma since manifesting in this realm. Alastor, meanwhile, avoids Zestial's more or less subtle attempts to get him to spill the beans by paying him false compliments back, saying, "Coming from someone as ancient as you, that's quite a compliment." So, how ancient is Zestial exactly? His speech pattern is easily recognizable as what is known in linguistics as early modern English, a form of English that is nestled between the Middle English of the Middle Ages and modern English. Language naturally fluctuates over an extended period of time, but roughly speaking, early modern English was spoken between 1500 and 1700. So this is the time frame which we can assume Zestial to have lived in. The most famous user of early modern English was undeniably William Shakespeare, which is why I just usually call this Shakespeare English. But that begs the question, if everyone makes such a big deal about Zestial's age, that must mean that he is one of the oldest down there, if not the oldest, right? At the oldest he could be, though, he would only be around 500 years, and given the age of the whole human race, that's really not a lot of time. Well, when I first thought about the scene and what I could say about it here, I would have said that it makes sense that the longer you live and the more exterminations you experience, the more likely it is to die in one of those. But since the exterminations have only been going on for 7 years, that's not as likely anymore now, is it? Plus, it doesn't even matter anymore that I come up with a justification, because it since has been clarified that Zestial isn't the oldest living sinner in hell, he is just the oldest living overlord. In the same statement, it was also mentioned that Zestial is practically retired, which I interpret as him owning souls and reek in the benefits they bring by whatever means he chooses to use them, but not going out of his way to acquire new ones. Alastor's VA Amir Talai said in an interview that if he wanted to change something in his performance, he would have wanted to infuse it with just the slightest bit of nervousness for this scene, to give another nuance to a guy who is always so calm and collected. It begs the question, of course, how scared he even has to be when he has it in black and white, so to speak, that no one is stronger than him. But he is also the one who definitely knows that experience and age can count more than raw strength. Since the conversation isn't going anywhere, the two men walk in silence, Eggies in tow, while someone behind them sneaks a picture, and we sneak away, because this has been 7 minutes again. Thank you for joining me again. Eat your eggs, or don't, but whatever you do, don't eat raw deer, and we will meet again next time for part 8. Bye! Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney. Oh, neither Carty nor Carthy. Cartney. Wow. I've never heard of the Beatles, apparently. There are even types of Martha. And I have to ask, is... Be gone, tractor, you're interrupting me. Not only between the same species, kind, I say kind. He takes the liberty, woohoo! That must mean that he is one of the oldest down here. Here? I'm not living in hell. Since the conversation isn't going anywhere, the two men talk in silence. Sure, of course.